So this week marks the 3 year anniversary since we were able to move our family from Wisconsin to Florida. And I do remember that for about 2 years before we made this move, we watched almost every video on YouTube on moving to Florida. So now that I've been here 3 years, I think that I have been able to form a educated opinion on what it's like to live in Florida or move to Florida while still remembering what it was like when I lived in Wisconsin. So what I'm going to do here is give you some things you want to look out for, just because these were some things that was not explained in other videos. They were good videos, but they just weren't explained. And we didn't fall into these pitfalls because I did even more research. But I just want to make sure that I point this out to you so that you don't find yourself in a position where you come down here and it's stressful, end up having to move back or anything like that. Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about is going to be, about money. Let's be honest. That's going to be the main reason why people are going to struggle moving from anywhere to Florida. So, like I said, I was moving from Wisconsin. So if you're coming from a big city, if you're coming from like Illinois, if you're coming from, I don't know, California, this might not be the case for you. But if you're moving from a smaller area, then I will say bring about 50% more money than what you think you need. So for example, if you're bringing $10,000 down here, I will highly suggest you bring 15, because I'm telling you right now, I don't care how many articles are written. If you talk to the people that live down here, Florida is so expensive. It's more expensive than, where you are currently. Like I said, if you're not in one of those big cities, every time we go out to eat, for example, me, my wife, my daughter, we're spending $100 guaranteed, no matter what. And I'm talking about like one of those sit down places, right? Not like the fast food, like, Wendy's, McDonald's, everything like that. So you're going to be spending more money than what you're typically used to. Another example would be like even a haircut. Like you see, I'm shaving my own hair because where I was at, a haircut was $25 including tip. Down here, $40. And I think that's a cheap haircut down here for $40. So, and I'm not paying that. So little things like that will start to add up, and you'll see, your savings dwindle down, especially if you're not coming down here with a job. So you just want to make sure that you bring enough money to sustain you. Okay. Now, another thing that you need to watch out for and be aware of is that things move slower down here. And again, this goes back to point A, why you want to bring more money, because things move slower down here. So you might think if you don't have a job already coming down here, which is going to be difficult, or, from my experience and from talking to people, can be difficult because companies want you to already be down here before they hire you. So you might have to come down here in order to even get hired. So if you're not coming down here with a job, then when you get down here, you might be surprised by how slow things move down here. In the Midwest, you might get an interview on, Tuesday, right? They might let you know that you got the job on Friday and then ask you when you can start. And then you like, hey, I can start Monday. And they're like, fine, come in Monday. Here, doesn't seem like that's the case. I mean, paperwork takes a long time. Them getting back to you take a long time. So, you might be out of work longer than what you think you're going to be out of work. So you're going to need that extra money if that's the case. Okay. The next thing I want to go over is research whatever you want to do. So work backwards. So think about the job that you want to have down here in Florida and do your research on it. Because what you may find, because it's exactly what I found, was that whatever job you're doing right now, whatever you're getting paid, you're going to make less than that in Florida. And I'm talking about substantially less. So, you might want to take 15 or 20% off of whatever you make right now, especially if you're doing like some manufacturing jobs. So if you're doing manufacturing jobs or what they want to call like unskilled labor, you're going to make less in Florida if you plan on doing that. If you work in sales, which is what I work in, you work in sales, you'll be fine. You'll be fine in Florida. So you won't have to worry about anything like that. But an example would be where I was at in Wisconsin. We had a place called NEMAC. I worked there about 10 years. and they made transmissions for like GM, Ford. I believe they even make parts for Tesla now. I was long gone by then. But with no high school diploma or now high school degree, I'm sorry, you could go there and make about $30 an hour, right? Even working, like on the line, which was general production, it's probably went up now. I think you can make $27 an hour working there at NEMAC. But here, down here, that same type of manufacturing job, when I was looking at it, when we first thought we were going to move, I was looking at it, that same type of job was only like $17 an hour, $16 an hour. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. So research the job that you want, make sure that that job is available down here, and then understand that the wages are going to be a lot less down here. And then on top of that, what they don't tell you is housing in Florida is even more expensive. So, if you're at a place like we were where, $2,000 a month put us in an actual luxury apartment, it was just built. So it was very, very nice for, a little over $2,000 a month. If that puts you in a luxury apartment where you are, that is not going to put you in a luxury apartment here in Florida. Just so you know, you won't be like in the hood, right? So you can still be in a decent area, but it's not going to be luxury, right? It's going to be okay. So that's another thing, again, why we bring more money, depending on what you're used to in your lifestyle. You're probably going to need more money down here. So the good thing is that I do have a job that you probably are going to be able to get when you get down here, especially if you're a male, if you're young, if you're healthy. It's called trash valet. So basically, I got that trash valet job when I was down here for about 3 weeks, just because I saw how expensive things were and I wanted some money coming in. You're not going to get rich off doing it. You get paid by the day, depending on the side of the size of the property. All you do is basically you go to apartment complexes, and instead of the tenants having to take their own trash to the compactor or the trash can, they sit it outside their door. You come through with either a pickup truck. Some places will have like a big red cart that you push. You put the trash in there, and then you take it to the compactor. I've seen people charge anywhere between $25 a day for a smaller property that you probably can do in like 30 to 45 minutes, to $75 a day or $80 a day for properties that you probably need a truck. So that's something you could do just to get some money coming in, right? So that you're not just spending the money that you have saved. Typically, you probably can do it in an hour and a half, right? And then you can basically come there whenever you want, just finish it by a certain time. So that's all I have for you all. Those are my tips for moving to Florida. I'll probably post another video about the pros and cons, because there are some things that some fantasies that a lot of times you have in your head about what it's going to be like when you move to Florida. But then once you get here, you realize that that's not the case. So I appreciate you all clicking on the video. Again, any questions, put them in the comments. I'll be sure to answer them.